About 6 weeks ago. So that's certainly.
What's up, Commanders fans? Welcome into the Command Post. I am Brian. That is Trev. You know us. You love us. We love you guys.
Yes.
Trev,
yes,
you smell
sir.
that? You hear that? I can actually see it.
Yes.
That is real football. That is our team on the practice field. OTAs have started. It's a random Wednesday in May, but I am freaking out. There are actual football plays happening on my screen. The Commanders are on the practice field. Dan Quinn has talked. We're going to talk about kind of the overall OTAs next week, but we could not record a podcast about them starting and getting back on the field. The burgundy and gold are out there. How are you feeling, man?
I'm excited. I've put last year's in the past, I've put the 12-5 season in the past. I harp on a little bit for like memories, but that's in the past. I'm ready to go this year, man. I'm fired up. Sonny Styles is there. Antonio Williams is there. It's like, I'm ready, bro. It's football's back.
Yeah, I mean, I turned it on. The Commanders have it live on their X feed. I don't know if they're going to do that all 3 days or what, but I started watching. It was Sam Hartman throwing to Katron Allen. You would have thought it was a playoff game. That's how excited I was. I mean, the fact that they're out there, it's just exciting, man. It just shows how close we are. I was looking at the calendar. I believe about next week we'll get to about 100 days from that opening Sunday. So it is close. It'll go fast. We know summer goes way too fast. But here we are, man. We're seeing these guys go at it. We're seeing JD5 throw the ball around. Like you said, the rookies are out there. All the guys that you want to see are out there on the field. I haven't seen reports of anybody missing. I know it's not always 100% attendance, but it's not like last year with Terry missing, all that good stuff or bad stuff now in the past. These guys are going at it and they're getting ready and hopefully putting, like you said, putting that 5-12 season in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, man. And not to be distracted from that, but I just went and looked at the live look. Wes Welker is on our staff. It's so cool to see him out there with them. With the but yeah, it is good to see that Terry is here, present day one. No more holding out drama like last year. It's good to see most of the main guys, I guess, are there. I know I saw on Twitter earlier this week and earlier today that Laramie Tunsil probably won't be there, and that's fine.
He typically does too, right?
With that. Yeah, he does that. He's earned the right to do that, literally. So I'm cool on that. So if some guys aren't there, they either probably earned the right, or some people we still have lives to live. So they could miss a couple of days. So just don't freak out.
Yeah,
it's voluntary, but as long as the main guys are there, it's cool.
And as excited as we are, you can't put too much stock into these videos we're seeing. I know the media only has limited access, so I don't know if it's like the first hour or whatever it is. I'm sure some of the beat guys will get their reports out, afterward. So I'm going to live on every word, but at the same time, it is still May. You're still 4 months from meaningful football, but man, is it a nice little taste. Again, we're recording this on May 27th to kind of pull back the curtains depending on when you're listening to this, but Dan Quinn opened it up with a presser. I know you were checking some of that out. I saw some of his comments. What kind of stood out for you from what the head coach had to say here as we get into a pivotal third season for him, Adam Peters, Jaden Daniels? What stood out for DQ's presser to you?
I feel like he's chomping at the bit to get this season going. And it's already going. Like you said, today is phase 3 of OTAs. So we've already had some stuff happen on the field and meeting rooms and everything. But I feel like he's chomping at the bit to get it going. He's fired up. He was asked questions about Durante and David Blau. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then he was even asked a question when he was a former defensive coordinator, how do you build a playbook? And he kind of went into that for a little bit. And so I just think he's ready to go. He's excited for the new pieces we have. He's excited for the new faces we have in the locker room. And he harped on the continuity in the locker.
I was just going to say, Laramie Tunsil is in attendance. So maybe that shows you some of how important it is to these guys. Yeah, John Keim tweeted about 20 minutes ago. He's in attendance.
Wow.
So I don't know. That tells you how big this season is. They know
That's
5-12 Yeah, 5-12, they wanna put that all behind them. Like,
Right.
I kinda saw that in what I was reading that Dan Quinn is chomping at the bit to get out there. I think all these guys are. I think it left a bad taste in their mouth as much as it did for the fans. Can you imagine these players getting their head beat in every week, losing guys left and right? I
Mhm.
imagine when that final game went down against the Eagles, they wish they could have gotten out and started the 2026 season the next week.
For
I know
sure.
we all feel that way. So,
I mean, we
man,
probably were mentally.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I love that Larry Tunsil is there. I'm not gonna put too much stock into that, but the fact that he normally doesn't do that, he
Yeah.
was new last year, didn't do it. He got a little bit of criticism for that, but like you said,
Mhm.
he earned it. He got the
Yeah.
big contract. He's the highest paid tackle in the league.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be out there. I mean, it's not mandatory. The fact that he wants to be out there, that's huge to me.
And for those who are listening and not watching and maybe can't see the video, they're practicing in the bubble today for first days of phase 3. So they're not even outside touching grass. They're touching fake stuff. And for Tunsil to be there, that does speak volumes because like you said, his tendency is not showing up, not being there. He'll come back and play catch up. He's fine. But for him to be there on day one of phase 3, that's huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they talked about communication, said that
Hmm.
JD5 is a relentless competitor. But I think
Yeah.
one thing we were talking about just before then, it's been kind of the talk of the offseason. I think, obviously you can talk about Sonny Styles, you can talk about coming off a 5-12 year. What's the biggest storyline? One of the biggest things is that Jaden Daniels, whether it's tweaking a couple of things, he's going to have to learn a new offense under David Blau, a first
Yeah.
time play caller. So there's been a lot of angst, maybe some questions about that. We've heard that he's going to be under center. Dan Quinn said that he's already seen the fact that he's been under center more, and that kind of again another optimistic sign to me that they're not just talking about it, they're being about it. And here, when snaps are actually happening, it's happening out there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he said that JD5's calling card is how fast he picks up an offense. If and to put in perspective, this is the second time in 3 years he's learning a new offense. Rookie year, he had to come in and learn a new one as a rookie, and
Mhm.
then now it's another new one. This is third year, but it's still like he said, probably has some familiarity with it because of David Blau. But yes, he is under center a lot more. He said he's also looking for him to command the huddle some more, no pun intended. The urgency of the offense, and I don't think we're going to see as much as no huddle. Or what else is it called? Fast tempo, up tempo offense as we saw last
Yeah.
year. I think we're gonna see more
Hurry
of
up.
taking
Yeah.
our time. Yeah, more hurry up, taking our time, come together, huddle up, come out under center, and go from there.
Yeah, I think, Cliff Kingsbury ran it at an absurd rate. When it
God.
worked, it worked, but when
Right.
it didn't, you were just throwing the ball back to the other
Bro.
team.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a running back there. He's handing it off.
Yeah. So far, I will say what Dan Quinn has said is typically played out. I don't think he's a guy that's gonna just blow steam on guys. And it
Right.
seems the same way with David Blau. He said, we're not gonna do as much no huddle. Obviously, we won't be able to see that till they're actually playing games, but I believe him because he's already said they've already talked about Jaden being more under center, and it's obviously already evident here on a Wednesday in May. So I just
Yeah.
love to hear that. I just feel like everybody's on the same page. I will say, and this is not some crazy take, but I think that having David Blau being in the building the last couple of years, albeit a new system, it's still probably similar terminology to that.
Yeah.
It's not that huge of a learning curve.
Oh
But you're
yeah.
right. Jaden Daniels picks it up quickly anyway. I wouldn't have been worried if it was an outside guy, but it is nice to have that same, feel and
Yes.
communication. Terry talked the other day about how good of a communicator that David Blau is. So the fact that they're kind of hitting all these marks and kind of all on the same page is very encouraging here in the spring.
And to piggyback on that, I'm pretty sure you have to guess. Okay, Cliff Kingsbury was offensive coordinator and the play caller, but I'm pretty sure David Blau probably drew up a couple of plays for Cliff to call, and we might have seen some of that already happen this past offense. But then also maybe we saw maybe Cliff like doing his own thing and not taking Blau's suggestions. So to have that creativity, like you said, it's already been there for 2 years, and now it's fully his to fully display what his creativity is shown and not being hidden behind somebody else who has the spotlight. That's even great. So that's huge for this, and I don't think people really understand that until as the season gets on. Because I know I wasn't excited about the David Blau at first, to be honest. I really
Yes,
wasn't.
same.
But
And to be
was
honest, kind of the same with
it is now.
Durante Jones. It
Yes.
kind of felt like not that they had swung and missed, but it just was like I was kind of hoping for the big name. But there are things that I think are encouraging about both of these guys. Obviously, it remains to be seen when they get
Yeah.
out there. It'll be
Yeah.
different in September if things aren't clicking. But still, I'm encouraged by what I hear, and the more I think about these guys. I love this. I'm going low tech. I'm going to show it on my phone. The
Okay.
Commanders just said, "Here,
Oh
damn."
yeah. Yeah,
It's
look at
just
that. Here, damn. Yeah, admin hears us, yo. They hear us.
I love it.
Shout
I
out
think there
to
was. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Okay, I was gonna say shout out to the quarterbacks. We're not wearing those red pennies anymore. We got the black Hail Razor practice jerseys on for our quarterbacks right now, which is we're swagged out in practice. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I heard a little chatter of that we had seen some off-season videos, but hadn't seen Jaden himself. So I
Yeah.
think the admin kind of understands
Yeah.
what's going on there. They have a pulse of the fans. They listen to the command post. I'm convinced. We're convinced. But
Yeah.
so Jaden Daniels, I think is answer one, probably 1A and 1B. But what are you most looking forward to in these OTA sessions? What do you want to hear out of it when it's all said and done? Again, given the caveats that it is spring,
Right.
it's not real
Right.
football, but it's just a little taste. What are you hoping to hear most from the team these next couple of days?
Speed and how fast we learn things. Um, Dan Quinn touched on that too. We're not going to see, he used Sonny for example. You're not going to see Sonny like pretty much play the ball or have any plays where that happens. He's just focusing on is he in the right spot, his explosiveness, can he get there, this and that. For the receivers, he's looking for perimeter game time speed, just no collisions, he said. So, look for that. But for the O line, D line, he's looking for them as well as like a more controlled environment. Because I was always wondering what OTAs really meant. And he kind of harped on that. So there is game speed, game time stuff, but there's also controlled stuff for, like he said, for the O line, D line. They're not doing much physical stuff at all. They're barely touching each other, just making sure technique and then the spot, game speed on the outside, separation, can they catch the ball, stuff like that. So it's still live and full speed and it's installing the offense, but it's more in a controlled environment. So I'm just looking for, them to see how fast our new guys, whether it be free agents or rookies, can learn our schemes on both sides of the ball. And then continuity. I always fear when you bring in a lot of new faces, is it going to like turn the locker room upside down? Is it going to make it better or worse? And so far, according to DQ, everything is like butter. So I'm looking for those three things: quick learning, the speed, and the youth that we got, and then continuity.
Yeah, I think all those things make a whole lot of sense, especially when they lacked a lot of that, right? It just felt like guys weren't on the same page from the get-go last year. I keep bringing it back to Terry McLaurin's contract, and
Mhm.
I don't think that should have been an excuse, but I think it kind of lingered, started slow, never really picked up, injuries, all that. We don't have to rehash that, but I agree. I think continuity is so important. For me, I kind of want to hear who takes over these leadership roles, because if you think about it, obviously you're thinking the green dot guys, right? So Jaden's gonna have the green dot on offense. We don't know. We assume eventually Sonny Styles will get that, whether it's this year or whether it's later on down this year. But
Right.
my thing is beyond the green dot, who's going to be that leader? They don't have Zach Ertz anymore. They don't have Bobby Wagner anymore. I'm not saying those are awful. I'm not saying that you can replace that leadership, but obviously father time comes for players pretty quick. But who's
Yeah.
going to step up in those roles? Who's going to be the guy that is available on third down? Who's going to be the guy that huddles up the defense when a team's driving it down their throat and they got to get a stop? Those are places where you didn't see it on the field, where I know that Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner had to play a big part. I'm kind of curious to hear if somebody sees or hears of a Leo Chenal or
Right.
a Chiquanquo or Terry McLaurin coming in there, if they're stepping in there and being one of those leaders, because you need a veteran guy. As good as a communicator as I'm sure Sonny Styles is, he's a rookie. There's something to
Right.
be said about playing a couple of years. Is there a guy out there that, while you can't be Bobby Wagner, can you fill that leadership role? And I'm curious, while Dan Quinn is saying everything is going well, where does that come from in terms of that continuity that you're talking about? That leadership part is so huge.
Yeah, and I bet you DQ is wondering the same thing. I bet that's one of the things he didn't harp on that today, but I'm pretty sure he's definitely looking for that because he's all about that.
And I'm not worried about it. I know they have guys like Jeremy Reeves, and they've got guys like Deron Payne and Terry McLaurin, who I already mentioned. We know Jaden Daniels is that guy a lot, but that's a lot of experience to lose both on the field but off the field. Again, I think it was time to move on. I'm not saying that you hope it doesn't hamper you on the field, but those guys, those leadership qualities are key here. And I think that in the OTAs, that's probably a big part of it. Obviously, no injuries, all that good stuff. But I'm with you, continuity. But I'm also excited to see what Okonkwo can bring. Rashad White, eventually, if they bring in another receiver. But I want to see some of these playmakers make plays, albeit in shorts. I'm just fired up that we're seeing actual footage and pictures of our guys on the field, though.
Yeah, and DQ said earlier in his presser again that they've already installed a bunch of stuff on both sides of the ball. OTAs now is about refining it and see what it looks like on the field. But they're not. This isn't like day one learning the playbook. They've been learning the playbook since they were picked up and drafted, and all that stuff. So I'm just excited, man. Football's here in the bubble and shorts, like you said. I don't care.
A couple of tweets that I saw that are encouraging or I think can lend itself to what the offense is going to be. I know it was a super limited size, but I saw a tweet where Jaden Daniels was the most effective quarterback passing under center. It didn't happen a whole lot, but he was the best on the chart. Obviously, there isn't a big sample size, but you have to be excited that's going to be featured more. And then in terms of continuity, you mentioned they probably have the plays. They probably have an idea of what David Blau has wanted to run since day one that he was announced, right? And the fact that Jaden Daniels got the guys together, got Terry, De'Ami Brown, Rashad White, and him at least. Maybe Traylon Burks was there, but the fact that they threw together a little bit, I hope that was kind of step one, right? And like you said, that they can refine on that. They can now go in there, get the other, 5-6 guys on the same page and get that offense humming. Because again, I saw, and I don't think I needed a chart or anything to see this, but I feel like Washington started very slow in a lot of games. And I would say even in 2024, that happened a couple of times. I mean, I can think of, the Eagles 5 turnover game that they had to come back from going down. I think they were only up like 9-0 on Dallas when Dallas had basically rolled over in that home game. There were just many times, even Jaden Daniels had to play superhero. And then last year, when you get behind and you don't have Jaden Daniels, you don't have a full complement, that becomes a bigger issue. It snowballs. All that said, I want to see this team go put together long drives, put their foot on the gas from the get-go. And I hope that like I keep coming back to, maybe continuity is the theme of this, but can they get that going from day one and not have those slow starts that I really think could swamp a team early on?
I agree with you. Like, so do we have other superheroes on the team, pretty much is what you're asking. Like, do we have room for anybody else to wear the cape outside of Jaden Daniels? Like, do we have somebody that's going to be like, look, we need to stop this third down, or we need to convert this third down. This is our only shot. And like, we don't always have to see JD5 or, like you said before, Bobby Wagner do it. Let's see somebody who we never can. Nick Cross do that for defense? Can Chig be that? Can Tunsil be that on offense? Could, I don't know, Allegretti, because he's a starting center, can he be that guy now? So, but I don't have any worries about that, really. I'm just excited to see it and see what it looks like.
Yeah. We've said that they've said the right things. Well, now you got to put it into action. And, I love what I'm seeing so far. Don't get me wrong. And I agree, but let's get it going. Let's put those slow starts behind. Let's actually take it to these teams as opposed to kind of taking the first punch and reacting. I just feel like that's been an issue for them. Maybe for the last 30 years, but especially the last couple of years, even with a great year in 2024, I still, if we're nitpicking out that year, I think that there were some slow starts. And we can see last year, a slow start in a game turns into an entire game, turns into a whole quarter of the season, turns into a 5-12. You can't have that. You can't have it snowball. And you, especially going back to the schedule, you got 3 huge games to start, 2 division opponents and the defending champs. You cannot start slow or you'll get buried pretty quick, and you don't want to see that in back-to-back seasons.
I agree with you. Just can't start slow. Let's come out swinging, put the foot on the neck on the gas, and don't look back, bro.
That's right. Well, we're recording this on the first day of OTAs. Obviously, they haven't been out there a whole lot. We're all excited. We're seeing pictures. I think we're just desperate for content for our guys on the field. So you guys will be tuning in on Twitter like we will. we'll be back at the beginning of next week, kind of recap everything that we saw, heard from OTAs. I think that'll give us a better idea of some things, some of these questions that we have, if they've kind of been answered based on the stuff that we've seen out there. Anything else to add, Trev, before we dip out on this and kind of tune into a mini holiday that is the OTAs?
No. If you're gonna watch this today, or I don't know if you have time, but Jaden Daniels will be speaking after practice today, so we'll be paying attention to that. I might do a quick take on that and put that out to see what he has to say and answer some questions or whatever. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. OTAs is here. Football is back in the bubble, outside the bubble, in pads and shorts. It does not matter. We are back.
We're back. It feels good. We'll be with you every step of the way. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Like Trev said, check out his quick takes. He's always jumping in there when we can't get together, the two of us. So all kinds of stuff. We'll be all over it. We know you fans are as well, and we're excited to talk about it because as far as I'm concerned, football is back, baby. This is real. It ramps up. It only gets more and more serious as we go along. I think we've made it. So you guys be good. Take it easy. We'll talk to you on an official podcast at the beginning of next week, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for tuning in, guys. Go Commanders. Football's back.